Welcome to That Entrepreneur Life, a podcast about entrepreneurship that takes you from idea to launch and beyond. Each week, your hosts, Andrew Lees and Clint McPherson, discuss different business topics aimed at adding value to any entrepreneur's journey.
What's up, guys? This is Andrew Lees and Clint McPherson here on That Entrepreneur Life. We got episode 2 right here. And every day we talk about entrepreneurship. That's what this podcast is all about. And, if you're starting a new business or, you're just thinking about it, or you've already started a business recently, or you're, years into building a business, there's a lot of good information that we're going to talk about, and we're going to have some pretty cool guests on here and discuss their entrepreneurial journey. And today we're going to talk specifically about, we're going to define entrepreneurship and talk about what it is. We should have some kind of a baseline understanding of what entrepreneurship is and what it means to be an entrepreneur. And that'll kind of set the stage for the rest of what we talk about.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's going to lead us into, the role we have in our specific, business landscapes as entrepreneurs, and just, playing off of that whole concept. I think really defining it and helping everybody understand what entrepreneurship is going to be a good thing initially, for us to continue on, right? And to live up to that entrepreneurial life, motto, and are the, taking individuals from an idea, like you said, if they're starting their entrepreneurial journey now, to launching that business, and then also going much further than that, and taking it to where we're bringing individuals on our show, like you said, and getting, and just digging down into, right, their struggles, their successes, and just hearing their story, man. It's going to be good times.
Yeah. Because I think that, like we talked about in the last episode, every journey is different. And so it's, you can really learn a lot from talking to different people about how they, what their journey was like, and the things that they've learned along the way. Every entrepreneurial journey is similar. There's a lot of similarities. There are a lot of things that we can all relate to and identify with, for sure. But everybody's got a different story. Everybody's got these awesome nuggets of information that, you can talk to, you could have a multi-million-dollar business and talk to somebody, you're doing 7 figures a year, talk to somebody who's doing 5 or 6 figures a year, and learn something really, really good that, can help propel your business to the next level. And make you even more successful. So,
no, I agree. I mean, I think taking that whole, just from that standpoint and looking at it, and you're talking about, 5 figures, 6 figures, whatever it is. I don't even think it's, at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's about the journey. Obviously, we all want financial freedom, right? We all want to do what we want to do because we have the money to do it. But I really think once you align, your wealth with your health, and then, the love and happiness for what you're doing, and just enjoy life and enjoy the entrepreneurial journey that you're on, whether it sucks, embrace the suck and strive forward, right?
Yeah.
If it sucks, what are you going to do about it to make it not suck, right? What are those angles and things that you could come up with to just get through the tough times, and then really enjoy the whole experience? Because being an entrepreneur, man, I've struggled. I know you've probably been there too and struggled, because you do it, right? And you know the struggle's real, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, what can I do to make today better? What can I do, right? Is it me taking 100% responsibility for what I have control over? Or me blaming everybody else because I don't have control over that, right?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And you really get to the point on a daily basis where you could kind of, you can blame other things, outside factors that are seemingly beyond your control, or you can work around them. You can just be like, I got to get this done. And I'm actually working on something right now where I'm running into this situation. It's run into a technology issue with an email platform and trying to get it to do something that it should easily be able to do. And it's getting buggy or glitchy or whatever. And I'm on the line with tech support trying to figure it out. And I'm just like, I'm just going to figure out a way to get through it. If they take, I'm not going to wait for them necessarily to figure it out. Because I need to get it done. I need to move on to the next thing, and I don't need this thing kind of hanging me up. So, we got plenty of choices. I can kind of figure out how to work through it myself, work around it, get some help with them if I can in a timely fashion, or I move on to something else. There's other technology. There's always a way. So, yeah, I think it becomes really important to just work through those things, and you become more, you realize how much more of, urgency there is when it's your business, when, if you're not getting through things, you're not generating revenue, you're not pushing the ball further down the line. Like when you're working for somebody and it's a 9 to 5 kind of thing, it's like, I could just say, yeah, I've got a problem with this software, and maybe they'll get back to me. I just have to wait for it,
Exactly.
Wait till next week, whatever. It doesn't matter to you, but when it's your business, it really matters to you. And I think that's cool. It really makes you more efficient, in business and I think in life, because it spills over into other aspects of life too.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you always have somebody that's been there in that same scenario to extent, right? So you are not the only one experiencing that problem, but you might be the only one that accepts defeat, right? So don't be that person that says, hey, I'm just going to wait for tech support to figure it out. Yeah, submit the issue to tech support, but if you come up with a cool solution that actually can solve the problem, or you have a workaround that while they're fixing that problem, I have something else, a backup plan, or I have somebody that is good with this type of stuff and they can figure it out and work because it's a team member of mine, leverage them, right? And again, you can always find that way. But with that said, man, let's get into defining what an entrepreneur is, brother.
Yeah. So, if you Google entrepreneur, what definition of an entrepreneur, which, just kind of Googling something to figure out what it is always a good start.
Without a doubt.
Especially,
Googled it.
Especially these days. Yeah. So an entrepreneur, the first thing that pops up, definition for an entrepreneur is a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on a greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. So super simple, and that definition definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It's, it can, I've also heard it defined as somebody who takes something of lesser value and creates greater value with that.
Yeah.
So, so you're taking something that you can buy at a relatively low price and sell, fundamentally, and sell it at a higher price. And
right.
then there's your, but you have to create some value somewhere in between, some value add, whether that's customer service, better, more features, whatever it is, so, but yeah, that definition that I just read is the fundamental definition of what an entrepreneur is. And
universally known, right? From again, when somebody says, how did you come up with that definition? We Googled it, right? And that's what we rely on. And a lot of stuff you got to know how to weed through and disregard. But, also thinking that definitions to somewhere, along the line should be adjusted to where it's like talks about, even putting it in as far as stepping out of your comfort zone, right? Doing something that, maybe a little bit of things going along with the definition, like the crazy, right? Like people that aren't normal, like, like people that again are see something, they see there's profit potential in things, right? Not just whether it's a digital product, whether it's a physical product, but things it's definitely risk bearing, right? You mentioned it's a risk. Being an entrepreneur is not stepping into a safe zone for a business that's already been figured out, right?
Yeah.
When you start your own business, unless you are franchising something or, take over another business, and become an entrepreneur that way, it's different. I started my business, a digital marketing business, from scratch, right? Started from the ground, working my way up. And so that's a huge risk.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, she's she's the one on the, more of the corporate side of things in accounting and stuff. So she's basically in the normalized and accepted version of the corporate world, right?
Right.
Her job, she's not an entrepreneur. She doesn't have an entrepreneurial mindset, or that entrepreneurial spirit. Because there's people that like the comfort of a corporate job, because that's basically when you go to school,
mm-hmm.
You're trained to do one thing, right?
Yeah,
and then
it fits the system. It's
exactly
something that can be
systemized, right?
Yeah. It's something. I mean, employment is definitely something that can be that there's a system to it. That there's education that you go through formal education to learn skills to get a job,
right?
And that makes sense in society is to have that, because not the majority of people are going to be entrepreneurial and be willing to take that risk. And I think that if you had to sum up the definition of an entrepreneur in 2 words, I think it's risk taker. It's definitely, that's it, because you don't know. You're not like, I'm going to do this and make X amount of money next month or in a year or something. If you're like Jeff Bezos, and we're looking back, it was like, oh yeah, it was a no-brainer. What was the risk in what he did? Well, he started from nothing in his garage. There was no guarantee that his business would do so well, and he could have floundered for a decade. And whether he actually had a great idea and a great business model or not, it could have been a struggle for a really long time. Maybe he gave up, maybe he would have given up at some point because juice just wasn't worth the squeeze, but it turned out differently. So there's always, no matter what, it's when you're starting something from scratch, it's just everything's unknown. Even if you've already done it before, there's still risk. If you've launched 10 successful businesses and they're all doing really well and they're operational and everything, starting number 11, is it easier? Yeah, probably. But it's still going to be risky, because you don't know. It's a totally different animal than everything else you've done, probably. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, and to tag on to the risk taker, I mean, it's one of those things. You have to be a motivator, because you have to learn how to motivate yourself internally.
Definitely self-motivated.
And if you can be a motivator, and you can motivate yourself, you can motivate other individuals, right? To one, either see your vision, so you can get there quicker and bring people in to help you succeed a lot faster. I mean, you have to be being an entrepreneur. You're also a leader, right? I was a leader in the military. You have to be a leader. You might be leading yourself again, right? And it might be self-lead, but if you have a team around you, or if you work with people, you have investors or whatever it is, you have to be a leader, right? Yeah. Because they have to understand you are able to lead your company or your business to the vision that you have, right? Yeah. And so when you look at it, you have to be an initiator too. I mean, initiating things, again.
Yeah, nobody's going to do that for you.
Exactly.
Nobody's knocking down your door saying, oh, please let me give you business.
Exactly.
Let me just give you all this money to do this stuff. And like, nobody's knocking down your door. So
no, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, decision maker on top of that is huge, right? I mean, you have to know how to make those decisions, and then go into initiating the process of what you're going to implement in the first place. And organizing things. If you're unorganized, man, like, I can find myself a lot of times not being the greatest organizer, but I always can tell a huge improvement when I sit there and start thinking about things and start organizing things and structuring things like as they should be, instead of as my mind's like, whatever, right?
Yeah,
Because your mind can easily just be like, whatever, right?
Oh,
And the
yeah.
next thing, everything's cluttered, everything's unorganized, you can't find anything. But I think being an organizer is being an entrepreneur, right? I mean, there's so many things, being a creator, coming up with additional content to add. So you like podcast, what we're doing currently.
Yeah.
Not only that, blog articles and just putting stuff out there. So, you know, it's really not a far-fetched idea. Entrepreneurship is like I said, fun. It's a challenge to me. I accept the challenge. I embrace the challenge. It's one of those things, even if you can go through a horrible day, right? But at the end of the day, you know that you are in control of the outcome of that, right? Because whatever event that's being thrown at you, you can choose to respond in a good way or a negative way, right?
Yep.
And so how you respond equals that outcome. And so as an entrepreneur, having that clear mindset of one, accepting 100% responsibility, like I said at the beginning of this podcast episode, like of what you have control over. And if stuff you don't have control over, like your email marketing platform that has a limitation that you should easily be able to do, hey, you just got to understand that right now that's a problem, but it's a problem that you can overcome at the end of the day, right?
Right.
You might not be able to figure out the solution to that specific problem, but you were smart enough to figure out a way around it, right? Or accomplish the mission at hand without relying on that email marketing platform that, again, you might be paying for and frustrated with, but you know somebody's in the background trying to work on it with you, and then there might be something better out there for you, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it's a matter of adjusting your expectations too.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it definitely comes down to that. I mean, you know, maybe you didn't really need to do that thing that you thought you did, or get the functionality out of something, you know, that you thought you really needed, and you can, you know, again, you can work around it with something else and kind of get something that works. I mean, at the very least, you know, I think that's the goal every day, is to just keep pushing forward, you know, and
without a doubt.
And there's some days where, man, it really doesn't feel like anything's moving forward at all. And then a few days later, you might you know, something happens and you're like, oh, that's because of that, what I did a couple of days ago that I thought I wasn't getting anywhere with.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it turned into like more business, or it turned into, you know, a new business relationship that could help further down the road or whatever. So yeah, it's just moving it forward, and just, you know, to be cliche, just kind of grinding it out every day. And it definitely helps to have a plan, you know, to have, to understand, have a pretty good idea every day of what you need to accomplish. And I'm getting a little bit sidetracked, but, you know, making a short list every day.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's only between 1 and 3 things. And until you've accomplished those 1 to 3 things, you haven't even thought about the next few things.
Right.
Because if you make a list that's 100 things long, cool, you're just going to be overwhelmed. And, you know, the reality is that we're kind of playing somewhat of an infinite game. It's not, we can talk about that later too. There's a guy who talks all about infinite games and not kind of getting caught up in the finality of, you know, of making sure that you're doing things that have every day that are geared towards long-term success. Yeah. And, you know, and that's the thing, because you can get bogged down in the minutia of things. And so
the clutter, right? I mean, there's so much stuff that, again, we don't have control over, that happens in our life, right? Like if we set aside time to do a list, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, a short 3-step list or whatever it is, or even breaking that long list up of 100 tasks into smaller lists that you can accomplish in a set amount of time. You know, typically, you know how long it typically sends you to send an email, right? Are you the person that waits for it to be a perfect email to where you're like, you type it out, you delete 1,000 things, and you type more, right? Are you that person? If that's you, then you got to know, okay, well, it takes me 15 minutes instead of 2 minutes to send an email, right?
Exactly.
So you just got to be realistic about how you set it up, and you also got to set the priority, right?
Yeah.
What is a project coming up that's due that you told a client 5 days ago that it was going to be done in 5 days? Mm-hmm. So today's the due date, and then it's still like number 20 on the list. Your priorities aren't lined properly, right? Yeah. And it's really coming up with that checklist and making sure that priorities are in check. Mm-hmm. And again, it's just having that little bit of organization to where, like, I find myself a lot of days to where it's like, man, I will go away from that process and just, you get lost because time goes by so quick.
Oh yeah.
When you're doing stuff that you either enjoy, or when you just don't set yourself up for success during the day.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you're like, I didn't get anything done today. Or anything that I needed to get done today.
Yeah.
I did other stuff.
Did some stuff.
Distractions. But again, that's all the clutter. The stuff, the phone calls that gets in the way. We have a podcast, whether it's, us getting sick or us, whatever, man, we can't do this. But it's a lot of stuff that we can figure out ways around it. Mm-hmm. And you have to make the decision. Is it better for us to do it next week? Which we did, right? It was better for us at that time. Right. But could we have done it? Yeah, we could have done it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's
could have found a way.
Yeah, it's a way. How do you? It's all about sidestepping, or how do you get out of that, or how do you just disregard the clutter that's in your way? Right. I don't have time for this phone call right now, but hey, I'll make sure I get to them. I just saw that I had an important phone call come through, which I probably needed to take. Right. But was it the right time to take it? Because there was something more important that needed to get done. Yeah. Right. And just because, and that right there could have turned into, it could have been a quick 5-minute conversation or a 2-hour conversation. Mm-hmm. Now you lost 2 hours of time to where those 2 hours could have been committed to just finishing the product that, like, the dude already paid for. Right. Finished today. Exactly, and then oh man, I missed the deadline. The dude's pissed. Yeah. So man, it's all about, trying to just strategically find the right way to make sure you shift through all the clutter that might be in your way, and just, again, prioritizing things.
Yeah. And focus on what you need to do at that time, and really dive into it as best you can until it's finished.
Exactly.
And when you've got, let's say, you've got 5-10 different projects all going on at once, it's so easy to just bounce around.
It is.
But really the best thing is to just really focus in on one, knock it out, move on. Doesn't mean you're not going to have to go back to that project. Maybe you're going to have to fix something with it. It's not like it's, all right, you put all your effort into it, for a few hours, then it's just done forever. It's not necessarily the case.
Right.
You might have to come back to it, but at least you're way further along with it. So you can, it's better to check one thing off than do 10 things and not check anything off. So yeah, and as it turns out, being an entrepreneur, being self-employed, it's really easy to stay busy. Like there's no challenge in doing something.
Yeah. That's goes without saying.
Like you're maybe for a little bit, if you're not used to working for yourself, you probably twiddle your thumbs for a few days. You do something, and it's like, all right, cool. I'm now I don't really have anything to do. But you quickly realize that there's literally not ever a time when there's nothing to do. Right. Because there's always something else to be done, whether it's creating, like you talked about, creating new content. You could be, if you're literally any product or service you're selling, especially when it's online, you can be working to be the authority, or be an authority about it, and writing content, making videos, working on ad copy and creatives, working on the product itself, customer service. Like there's always, whenever I think I'm finished with something, I'm like, or literally have nothing to do, I'm like, all right, well, now I can create some content at least.
Yeah, exactly.
I could always be doing that. And then that kind of brings me to the thought of, you definitely, while there's always something to do, as an entrepreneur, you kind of you always have to know when to shut it off too. Because once the more you get into it, the more you're like, oh man, I could keep going. I could do this forever. I could, you just kind of like work, work, work. Sometimes it really feels like work, but when it doesn't, it's almost like it's exciting. You're having fun.
Yeah.
You don't feel like it's work. And so you could just keep doing it and forget about the rest of your responsibilities as a human. So it's easy to, it's
man.
easy to happen as well.
And I can say just from experience, I've been there, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have too. When you're responsible for other people outside of yourself, right? Like if you're married, like I am, with 2 kids, 2 dogs. I mean, it's like one of those things that, brother, it's if you don't allow yourself to balance properly, you can start putting everybody, second. And that's not always a good thing, right? No. I mean, placing your business above your family is not the way to go, but I've been guilty of that from time to time, right? I've been in the groove and I've felt it to where it's like, oh man, I can stay in this room and just, because content, like you said, man, content's infinite. Content, like if there's one thing that has a limit, it's not content, because content can be pumped out in so many different ways. There's so many different forms of content, but like I said, it's infinite. Yep. You can never run out of anything to talk about as long as you can write, as long as you can type, as long as you can write, as long as you can record a video. Yeah. There is so much content that can be created that, like, if you allow yourself to go down that rabbit hole, you can go down it. It's a good rabbit hole to go down to, or go down in. But at the end of the day, it's like you said, you have to know when to shut it off. You have to commit to saying, okay, well, I'm actually going to only work from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever it is, 8 to 7, whatever time you set. But make sure you're looking out for yourself and the individuals that are with you, right? Your family. I mean, and for me, that's my wife, my 2 kids. And so that's something that I got to understand, that I have to flip the switch. I got to shut the computer off. I got to give them the time that they need, right? Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm not somebody that really needs all the, the love and the whatever, right? Because I'm more of a person that I can be alone, right? I'm more like somebody that I can be in this room and be fine and content with it. But at the end of the day, it's like, are the individuals that live in this house fine with that, right? Yeah. And so you have to balance that, man. And when you love people and when they're part of your family, and you don't want them to, look at you differently, you have to do that, man. But I think that we're entrepreneurs or business owners just in general are guilty of that a lot. Yeah. Right? Because they might not be able to know how to turn it off, because they're like, well, I'm doing all this for you. Right? Don't have that mindset. Yeah. You can accept responsibility and just say, hey, I turn it off right now, right? Because is it gonna be me? Is it gonna mean more to my kid for me to sit behind my computer and work? Or is it going to be more meaning, because he's out of school now, for me to go shoot the basketball with him or spend some time with him? He's drawing something and he wants attention, right? Yeah. I have to give it to him. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, he's only young for so long. And the next thing you know, he's grown up and none of that matters, but he'll always remember that type of stuff, right? Exactly. So it's just a good example to set. And like you said, man, you got to know how to turn it off. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, my wife supports me tremendously, and so I definitely want to respect that, and she understands that I need to work. I need sometimes weird hours, sometimes weekends. Like sometimes I'll have to, I'll be up at 10, 11 o'clock at night still doing something, but I try and limit that kind of stuff as much as I can. Yep. And if you're purposeful about it, you can make it happen. You can really, you can have a really good balance, and it's good for the people around you, the people that you love, and also yourself too. I mean, it really, when you have good balance, like when I'm all in on work or trying to do something with work, it might seem like in that moment, it might seem like everything's cool, but then, a few days later, you might really feel like you might really, feel how much of a toll that took on you to just be so focused on it and not taking a break, really
really is can be a problem. So it's good to balance, good to take a breather, and you're in it for the long haul. It's not a sprint.
Not at all.
And yeah, I used to think that. I used to think, oh, if I just what if I just worked like a solid month and didn't do anything else, just locked myself in a room and just tried to get all this stuff done as much stuff as I could get done. And it doesn't work like that. Like you'll get somewhere, something will get done, but then guaranteed, the next month your business, or the month after that, your business won't keep going. It's about creating sustainability. And I think if you're doing it to create some freedom for yourself, then that has to be the goal. You have to be purposeful about that. And so, put that hard work in on the front end, but at what point, you have to figure out at what point are you gonna realize the benefit and the flexibility of owning your own business.
I really think, we, like you said, you've thought about, that month. Like, if I just did everything, it seems like I'm in that a lot, to where my mindset, like, if I solve this one problem right now, today,
it like unlocks the world,
and like it's gonna the key and all the pieces are just gonna fall in place. I just solved world peace or something, right? And that's not the case, right? Because you're gonna start creating like inner turmoil inside, right? And that inner peace that you might be trying to solve worldwide. And that might not be like the greatest analogy, but when it looks like it, you're going to start, there's going to be times where you're going to be not at peace with yourself, because you're, again, things you should have make a priority, whether it's your family, whatever it is, but you locked yourself in the room, or you were like, I have to do this now. Right. And I'm all about working the odd hours. My wife understands that, right? If I have a customer that's like, hey, my website's down, I got to go fix that. Right. I can't just say, bro, see you tomorrow, right? No, I can't do that.
Wait 24 hours?
Can you wait 24 hours for me, man? It's like, let me go fix this, and let me go figure out why your website's down, right? But it's like you gotta be at peace with what you're doing. And I think if you always continuously, because I get in that mindset sometimes, like, I do this right now, it's gonna be done. And my wife's like, we might schedule to go somewhere out to eat. And I'm like, I just need this one more minute, and it turns into 30 minutes. You just can't do that, right? Like, it happens just so quickly, because it's like, it's only gonna take me 1 minute, promise. And then it's like, okay, 2 hours later, and she's over there like just frustrated, because you're like, my bad, right? Like, it's like you look up and you're like, it was really 2 hours. I was like, it felt like just 1 minute, really. But again, like I said, man, once you get consumed with that stuff, time flies.
Oh yeah.
Like, I really feel like sometimes that I just booted on my computer for the day, and my wife will call, coming home, and I'm like, what time is it? Oh, it's 4:15. She's on her way to the house.
It's crazy.
What have I done today? I don't know.
Does it?
And then there's days like that. It really feels like, okay, I sent out one email.
Yeah.
And what else did I do? Right. It's like, but that one email took maybe 3 hours, and you're like, why did it take so long? Because you're trying to pull all this information to provide to the client, but it's like, I could have made that a lot easier, right? I mean, on myself, and then could have got a lot more done. But
no, and I think I definitely agree. Yeah, my wife will be like, so what are you working on now? It's like, if I told her it was going to take something, I just have to send this quick email, take 2 minutes, and then 20, 30 minutes later, it's like, I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm like 5 tasks ahead. I did the email, and then I did 4 other things. I mean, sorry, so I really gotta avoid that. But it's funny what you said about, what you said about like the, sustainability of if I just do this one task, and everything falls into place. I mean, I kind of think of it like, I'm not a big gym buff, but I like exercise. I like working out, and I think it's a lot like the gym. Getting results out of business, I think, is a lot like the gym. Although the gym is way more straightforward.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go and you do something, you lift or you run, and like you don't have to really think too hard about it, or you have to think a whole lot harder about business. But it's the analogy I think is in if I just do all this work real quick and get it, is it going to unlock the keys to everything? It's like if you go to the gym for an entire day, you go to the gym for like 10 hours, and
that's
you do all this stuff, you're going to have a problem. Like you're going to get something done, right? Like you're going to improve something, hopefully a little bit, if you don't end up in the hospital.
Exactly.
But a couple of days later, a week later, a month later, you're back to square one. It's not. It's more important. I only got to the gym for 15 minutes today, but I do it every day.
Yeah.
That's way more important than trying to jam all this work into this short period of time. So that's important. You definitely have to make sure that it's sustainable. That if you can't set aside a ton of time to do something like create content every day or every week, at least do a little bit, so that at least do enough that you're not going to get so sick of it that you don't want to keep doing it. Because it's the key to long-term success. I really think is doing whatever you can do consistently, and you keep doing, because it just compounds. All that work compounds on itself.
Consistency is really key, man. That's where, like, one, being consistent on social media, consistent pumping out content, consistent, doing whatever you're doing and working out, right? Again, there's a lot of people that quit working out because they think because they went to the gym for 5 days, and that's all they did for 5 days. And look, if you go lift weights, you'll start seeing, you're not going to see results, right? You'll look and be like, okay, I might be a little more cut up or sore as hell.
You feel a little swollen.
You're like, you feel swollen. You might not even, when you take your shirt off, you're like I'm sore as hell right now, man. Like, what am I doing, right? Mm-hmm. But eventually, it's your muscles, right? You're shredding them over time, and it's something you're not used to, right? And it's about it, as long as you're consistent, and as long as you're consistent with it, man, you'll see results. Mm-hmm. But it's the people that think they're going to get the results in that first week, or like you said, I work out all day for 10 hours, and dude, I'm going to have a 6-pack today. Mm-hmm. No. Like you said, you might be in the hospital. You might I got a sports hernia or some craziness. Something's going to happen to where it's not going to feel good.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no 6-pack going to go along with that unless you draw it on. Like,
you're right.
So it's because, one, you weren't consistent. Yeah, okay, you were consistent for 10 hours, but that's not consistent for days. That's not consistent for months. That's when you start seeing the results. And again, I think entrepreneurs are people that want to claim to be entrepreneurs, and they hop around to different things, and they fail on a lot of different things. They just don't continue or have a clear path and aren't consistent enough to yield the proper results that they're looking for, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have a clear vision of where they're going or where they're actually steering their ship. It's like, dude, you gotta, know why you're doing this. Have a mission. Know what you need to do to get to where you want to get, and be consistent is a huge thing, man. Yeah,
definitely. And you're probably not going to know how to get there right away, but you just have to ask people. You have to do research. You have to, start to put a plan together and understand the different things that you need to put in place. And then once, the more you do it, the more you kind of get that understanding. And then you kind of get to the point where you're like, all right, I've done X, Y, Z, and I get results from X and Y, but not Z. So you can eliminate that, and you just focus on the things that get you results, and you just do them over and over and over again, and you scale them, and and I think that really helps a lot, instead of having that focus on the things that work, and the things that are probably going to work, be the most efficient for you, is really critical. There's so many things out there. There's so many ways to, if you're developing a product, there's a million different ways you could develop one simple product. But you have to pick one. You have to figure out what the market is demanding. And really try and address that and solve that problem. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to create like the most perfect solution for that problem that has ever and will ever exist.
Right.
So you can spin your wheels and waste a whole lot of time trying to figure that out, or you can solve the problem the best you can and move on. And then same thing with marketing. You deal a lot more with that, and there's so many different ways to do it. There's so many different ways to get a customer, get, like, let's say you're selling something online, there's so many different ways, mechanisms to get traffic with advertising and with content, trying to figure out, trying to get in front of people who are already searching for, they're Googling, what is an entrepreneur?
Right.
I didn't look for it, but there was an ad, somewhere there, I'm sure, about, for something related to entrepreneurship.
Oh, without a doubt.
And there's plenty of content. If you look down the page, there's content that, that people spend a lot of time researching and writing about.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's so many different ways to get traffic, to get customers, but it's so important, again, to focus on the things that are gonna get you the best results, and not try to do everything all at once. I mean, that's definitely something that I've learned the hard way along my journey. Is I've definitely tried to do too much. I've tried to engage with too many social media platforms and try and write emails and try and do outreach. And try and work with affiliates and try and work with influencers and like all this stuff. And it just doesn't, and then you're not really, you reach out to all these people and you get 20 emails back, and you're like, and you're focused on something else now, and you don't have enough time to really dive in and spend the time to get back to those people. And so it's just so important to just pick a few things that work really well, optimize those, and then you can always expand. You get a bigger team that can help you out with growing and scaling, and then you can hit those other things to get another 2% business or 5%. You get those extra gains here and there after you've dialed in the majority of how your business is going to grow.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just look at where you are at in your business. One, set goals, almost like you're doing for your day-to-day. Simple goals too. I mean, obviously you can write some far-fetched stuff out there, right? Like if you make $100,000 this year and you want to make $10 million next year, is that realistic? Maybe not, but you can strive to do that, right? You can manifest that. You can work your ass off and push to that goal. And then now you went from 100 to, $500,000.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're on your way to making the 10 million, but you're not there. Yeah. But it's something you could strive for, right? Visualizing it, that's good. But I really think coming down to it, like you said, not trying to do too much at once. I mean, that really kills you as an entrepreneur and can really slow your progress down to where you're trying to get. Yeah. It's really, really honing it in. If it's trying to, get that increase in business, whether it's that 2 to 5, 10% or whatever you're trying to increase it to, you just got to look at it and see if it's realistic, and what you are currently doing, is that really helping you get to where you want to be? Or are you doing things like that, not really, you're focusing on everything, and that's really slowing your growth down. Yeah. Right? And then once you start realizing things like that, then it starts clicking, right? And again, look, we make mistakes. We will probably do it again, right? We'll probably try to do too much. And that's just our mindset.
That's part of being an entrepreneur too. I think it's really pushing the envelope and seeing how much you can do and how many different things you can kind of juggle. I think that's part of it. I think it's part of it because fundamentally as an entrepreneur, you are juggling things, no matter what. Even if you are really focused on the right things, you're still juggling, things. And it goes back to the definition of it, management. You're managing a business.
Yeah.
So you're managing the tasks that you have to do and what your team is doing.
Yeah.
Whether your team is employed by you or whether you're working with, outside, really you could consider like your email platform as part of your team. You're paying them for a service.
Yeah.
They, that is part of your team. You have to manage that. You have to, and so managing those different, managing everything really becomes, you really have to juggle all that.
Right,
so
right.
it's in the nature, I think, of every entrepreneur to want to take on like one more thing.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, you're right. We'll definitely inevitably try and take on too much again, realize, all right, I can't do that. Kind of take a step back.
Right.
And, yeah.
But it's also good to look at like, okay, I've been here before. Should I do this again? Because I know the result, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know the end result. I'm going to try to juggle more and maybe I can take it on, but how much more time is that going to take me to actually do it, right?
Yeah.
Because when I've micromanaged in the past just because of some failures and some stuff that's happened in my business from people I trust, right? To where they take I give them a task and run with it, right? And then it's like, okay, you didn't run very far, or you didn't even do what I asked, right? And so it's like, now I feel like I failed a client. And so even though I come in and save it, right? I go in and do the work myself and then complete it by the deadline. But at the end of the day, I feel defeated because I trusted somebody to do something. But it's right, playing to people's strengths.
Yeah.
If you hire a team, even you knowing your strengths is very important, because look, if you're trying to do too much and you suck at, I'm just throwing email marketing out because you said it or talked about it earlier and it's in my mind. If you suck at email marketing, brother, should you really be doing email marketing? Probably not,
Probably
man.
not,
Outside of doing like exchanging emails with clients that are emailing you, you probably don't need to do it. Put somebody that is good at that or can actually visualize and put what you want down, because you're like, hey, this is what I want done. This is what I want pushed out. They can take that and run with it, right? Because that's their strength. That's what they do on a daily basis. They manage the outflow, pushing stuff out and managing the stuff that comes in to see if this is something that, again, you're playing to their strengths and you're getting away from something that you're weak at. Because there's a lot of things when I look at it, can I do it? Yes. Do I want to do it? Probably not.
Right.
Am I strong at doing it? Yes. So let's go ahead and knock it out real quick, because I know I'm good at this.
Yeah.
If I suck at it, but I know how to do it, but it's going to take me 10 times longer to do it, maybe I need to find a team member that okay, Susan, you got it. This is what you do. This is what I hired you to do. Step up, right? Need you to complete this task. And they deliver, man. But because that's their strengths, right? And I see so many entrepreneurs that bring in team members that aren't strong at specific things.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, I need you to do A, B, and C. And that person is motivated to do it because they're excited that, hey, he brought me in, man. I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm in his business now. He's trusting me. Cool. But reality, man, they suck at what you just asked them to do. And you even know they suck at it, but you do it anyway. And then you complain about the results that you get, Right. So it's really trying to figure out and play to your strengths, man.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Yep.
So, man, I think episode 2, that's a wrap.
I think so. We
touched on what we wanted to touch on.
Yeah, we define entrepreneurship and what it means to be an entrepreneur, and we hit on that. We hit on a few tangents, I think, but it's every show
that's going to be every show, guys.
Exactly. Just we'll kind of move where the entrepreneur spirit leads us, and that was cool.
So as we progress in this, man, obviously we're going to want people to, follow us on Facebook, our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Podcast is going to be released, it's rolling, man. And we got some momentum going. I'm excited, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, man. Working on a lot.
Yeah. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in.
Yeah. So. Excellent. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening, and, let us know what you think. And we'd just love to provide as much value as we can in every episode, and we're working on a bunch of things to give you even more tangible value, down the road. So stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to That Entrepreneur Life podcast. Be sure to visit thatentrepreneurlife.com to join the conversation, access our show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode as we continue to add value. Until next time.